To save the campus belle, I fought off some thugs harassing her with everything I had. But they got their revenge, and I ended up with a broken leg. The lead punk, whose dad owned a factory, even threatened my parents, causing our whole family to lose their jobs. When I went to the campus belle to borrow money to get through this crisis, she just rubbed her temples irritably. Back then, I never asked you to save me. She even said I disgusted her and told me to get lost. All the youthful adoration I felt for her turned to ash in that instant. I opened my eyes, and I was back before the accident even happened. Waking up in the storeroom of the bubble tea shop where I work part-time, I looked down at my perfectly fine leg and cried tears of joy. Was I reborn? Reborn back to before I saved the campus belle, Jessica Davis. I quickly grabbed my phone and checked the date. May 6, 2015, a day I could never forget. It was the day my leg was broken because I tried to save Jessica Davis. This time, I wouldn't play the foolhardy hero. I wouldn't save Jessica Davis, who wasn't worth saving at all. My name is Li Ming, and right now, I'm a sophomore in college. I'm not naturally gifted, so getting into this university took almost everything I had. Because my family wasn't well off, I started working part-time jobs as soon as I got to university. That's how I met the campus belle, Jessica Davis. Jessica Davis always looked very stylish, but whenever I was working at the bubble tea shop or the barbecue joint, I'd always run into her working part-time too. She always tried to disguise herself, thinking I wouldn't recognize her, but honestly, I knew it was her all along. I figured her family probably wasn't doing well financially, and she dressed like that because she was afraid of being embarrassed if people found out. I understood a girl's vanity, so I never called her out on it. I just kept watching her quietly from afar. She really was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. It'd be a lie to say I didn't have a crush on the campus belle, but I understood the gap between us, so I always kept my distance from Jessica Davis. Unless she talked to me first, I would never approach her. In my previous life, as I was heading home after work, I saw a group of thugs surrounding Jessica Davis. She was struggling frantically. "What are you doing? Stop it." But the thugs didn't stop. Their leader, a guy wearing a thick gold chain, grinned lecherously. Well, campus belle Jessica, didn't expect to find you secretly working at a bubble tea shop. You should have just said you needed money, always acting so high and mighty. Just keep me happy, and I guarantee you won't be short on cash. I don't want your money. Jessica Davis retorted defiantly, her expression cold yet beautiful. Even though Jessica Davis and I weren't close, seeing her in that situation, the me from my past life couldn't help but rush forward. "Leave her alone," I yelled. I knew a bit of self-defense, so I immediately put myself between her and the thugs. "Hey, where did this punk come from? Daring to mess with my fun? Watch me cripple you. Run. Don't worry about me." Even as the thugs' fists were about to land on me, Jessica Davis was still hesitating, unsure whether to run. At that moment, I was really touched. I thought Jessica Davis must be a good person. Faced with all these vicious thugs, she was actually worried about me instead of running away. Finally, at my urging, Jessica Davis gritted her teeth and ran, while I took the brunt of the thugs' fists and kicks. I eventually passed out from the pain and was taken to the hospital by a kind passerby. The doctor told me my leg injury was severe. I would likely be disabled for life. My parents wailed, crying about how bitter their fate was, how their only son had become crippled, and that was only the beginning of my tragic previous life. The thug who had been harassing Jessica Davis turned out to be the son of a Thompson Furniture Co. owner. He used his connections to get my parents laid off from their jobs. Not only did our family lose its income, but we somehow ended up owing the factory $500,000. That was $500,000. There was no way my family could afford that. But the debt collectors didn't care. They came banging on our door every single day. Seeing my mom being driven to her breaking point by the stress, completely exhausted, she ended up hospitalized. Just the daily medical bills cost hundreds. I had no friends, nowhere to turn to borrow money. In desperation, I thought of Jessica Davis. I only ended up like this because I helped her. Surely she'd be willing to lend me some money to tide us over, right? I dragged my crippled leg to find Jessica Davis. But not only did she refuse to lend me money, she looked at my leg with scorn. "See? That's what you get for sticking your nose where it doesn't belong. Serves you right. How could you do this? I was just trying to save you." Jessica Davis wouldn't listen, shoving me hard. I hit the ground and blacked out. Remembering what happened in my past life, bitterness filled my heart. This time, I swore I wouldn't stick my nose where it didn't belong. After closing up the shop, I headed home. On the way, I saw her again, Jessica Davis, slipping into that same narrow alley, only to be cornered by that punk, Quentin Wilson. Now, Quentin Wilson might act like a sleazy punk, but you had to admit his family was loaded. He just insisted on dressing the part, spending his days harassing girls on the street. Jessica Davis was probably just another one of his targets. Few girls he set his sights on ever managed to escape his clutches. Didn't she call me a meddler? Fine. Let's just see how things turn out for her without me sticking my nose in. Just like last time, Quentin Wilson started harassing her, and initially, Jessica Davis mostly ignored him. But when he grabbed at her clothes, she actually seemed to be feigning resistance. I was floored. A moment later, when Quentin Wilson actually kissed her, she even looked shy. Her usual proud, almost icy demeanor, gone in an instant. She even whispered to him, "Quentin Wilson, I can be with you, but I have to be your official girlfriend." Then, louder, having the campus belle as your girlfriend isn't exactly lowering your standards, right? And damn, Jessica Davis was pretty, with a sweet voice too. She had Quentin Wilson completely charmed. He immediately kissed her cheek again. "All right, our campus belle is way better than those trashy girls out there. Of course, you'll be my official girlfriend." A flicker of triumph flashed in Jessica Davis's eyes. And then it hit me. That's why she always took this damn alley instead of the main road. That's why she called me a meddler. Turns out I hadn't chased off some random punk for her. I'd chased off her sugar daddy. Revulsion washed over me. In my past life, I'd ruined everything trying to save this mercenary snake. Maybe she'd even planned for Quentin Wilson to be in this alley tonight. I watched Zhou Yue walk away in Zhang Yang's arms, my breath catching in my throat. The hardships I'd suffered flashed before my eyes, and I desperately wanted to slap her across the face. But I had something more important to do. Buy a lottery ticket. I'd never forget the winning numbers. They were broadcast on TV the day the doctor told me I'd never walk normally again after Zhang Yang and his thugs broke my leg. I'd memorized them, rushed to the store, and bought the ticket. Tomorrow, my life would change forever. The next day, while working my shift at the milk tea shop, I obsessively refreshed the lottery results on my phone. The moment I saw I'd won, the knot in my stomach finally unraveled. I'd done it. I was going to change my life. I disguised myself to collect the winnings, determined to stay under the radar. I kept working at the milk tea shop, but I'd already bought a luxury apartment and 2 storefronts downtown. I'd rent one out and give the other to my parents. They would never again work in someone else's factory, only to be falsely accused of theft and forced to pay for it. Working for others meant being at their mercy. I was going to take control of my own destiny. My small town wasn't expensive, so after the apartment and storefronts, I still had $1 million left. I considered investing in stocks. I'd always researched the market, but never had the money. Now I did. I took the plunge and spent $300,000 on stocks I remembered from my past life that had huge potential. To avoid suspicion, I continued working at the milk tea shop. I quit once the stocks paid off. One day, I saw Zhou Yue. This wasn't the Zhou Yue who used to work alongside me, hidden beneath a mask and cap. This Zhou Yue was dressed to the nines, sporting a designer handbag. She came in alone and immediately ordered the most expensive milkshake, something she'd never have done before. Zhang Yang's money had clearly changed her. I couldn't help but glance at her. She looked at me with disgust, as if I were something dirty clinging to her shoe. "What are you looking at, you pauper? You're not worthy of even looking at me." It dawned on me then. Her previous gentleness had been a product of poverty, her aloofness a mask for insecurity. She'd pretended to be someone she wasn't to hide her true, shallow, gold-digging self. The realization chilled me to the bone. I handed her the drink without a word. Whether it was her long nails or simply clumsiness, she fumbled the cup, spilling the entire contents over herself. "What are you doing? Clean this up," she shrieked. It was clearly her fault, yet she had the audacity to order me around. I swallowed my anger and wiped the juice from her clothes. Just then, Zhang Yang arrived. Seeing me tending to Zhou Yue, he roared, "What do you think you're doing to my girlfriend, you loser?" Zhang Yang immediately came over and slung an arm around Zhou Yue. Watching them, I couldn't help clenching my fists. Last time, it was these two who crippled my leg and landed Mom in the ICU. I will make them pay. Zhang Yang always acted like a thug. He kicked me right then and there. I swallowed the humiliation and took the kick. I knew I wasn't strong enough to take Zhang Yang head on yet. I wasn't about to blow things up between us right now. I lowered my head, bowing slightly. "Sorry, sir," I mumbled. The young lady just spilled some juice on herself accidentally. I was only helping her wipe it off. I didn't mean to touch her. My explanation didn't satisfy Zhang Yang. "Listen, kid," he sneered. "I'll remember your face. Today, it's just a kick. But if I ever catch you getting cozy with my girlfriend again, I'll break you." "Didn't you already break my leg last time?" The thought flashed through my mind, hatred burning in my downcast eyes. I'd already spent $50,000 hiring someone to dig up dirt on Zhang Yang's father's factory. I didn't believe for a second that the parents of a scumbag like Zhang Yang were clean. Their business had to be shady. Luckily, my stocks had been on a steady rise. They'd already tripled my initial investment. Time to cash out, I figured. Now I had 2 million yuan in hand. I'd set my sights on an established, albeit small, Thompson Furniture Co. in the city. Critically, it was a direct competitor to Zhang Yang's father's business. The place was currently on the verge of bankruptcy. I estimated I could buy it out for around 2 million. My plan was already forming. Buy the factory and go head-to-head with Zhang Yang's family business. I had way too much going on lately. Living in the dorm just wasn't practical anymore, and it was too easy for my roommates to notice something was up. So I lied, telling everyone I'd rented an apartment off campus. In reality, I checked into a hotel. Hotels had housekeeping, so I didn't have to worry about cleaning. Besides, my new luxury apartment was currently being renovated. Once it was ready, I could move my parents in and give them a real surprise. That evening, someone slipped me a small card near the hotel entrance. I was 22. I knew exactly what those little cards slipped under hotel doors meant. This one advertised an innocent college girl for 1,000 yuan a night. I scoffed. A college girl working this kind of job? How innocent could she possibly be? I wasn't interested in that kind of woman. I tossed the card straight into the trash. But a little later, something else got slipped under my door. This time it wasn't a card, but a flyer complete with pixelated, suggestive photos of college girls. Even though I, Ethan Thompson, was definitely looking for a relationship, I wasn't that desperate. But one photo on the flyer, only partially pixelated, caught my eye. It looked familiar. The longer I stared, the more it looked like Jessica Davis. Impossible. Since getting with Zhang Yang, she shouldn't be short on cash. Why would she be doing this kind of work? But curiosity gnawed at me. I couldn't resist dialing the number on the flyer. Hello, I said. I'd like to request number 5, but I need her to be blindfolded. I waited anxiously in the room. After a while, a blindfolded woman arrived. I focused my gaze. It was Zhou Yue. She was with Zhang Yang, yet here she was doing this kind of business. Her clothes were revealing, her demeanor seductive. I was once the poor guy she looked down on, and now I was her client, her sugar daddy. The irony was thick. I deliberately lowered my voice so she wouldn't recognize me. Lie down on the bed. Zhou Yue obediently followed my instructions. Looking at her alluring figure, I couldn't help but swallow hard. Honestly, I'd never even been in a relationship. How could I resist such a captivating and skimpily clad woman like Zhou Yue? But the thought of how dirty she was repulsed me. So I wasn't going to touch her. I instructed her to pose and took pictures. These photos would be useful. They would be my weapon against Zhou Yue and Zhang Yang. After I'd been directing her for a while, she whispered seductively in my ear, "Handsome, don't you want me?" I admit I was tempted for a moment, especially when her delicate fingers slipped inside my shirt. But the memory of my last humiliation brought me back to my senses. As much as I liked beautiful women, I wasn't going to stoop to Zhou Yue, this two-faced, venomous woman. I pushed her away and left the room. As I walked out, I could hear her cursing under her breath. I'd paid. Whether I slept with her or not was my prerogative. The next day, I went back to work at the bubble tea shop, and sure enough, Zhou Yue came in to buy a drink. She had a new designer bag. If I hadn't known what she did on the side, seeing her like this, I would have mistaken her for some rich heiress. She still looked down on me. Seeing me staring, she snapped. "Never seen a woman before? What are you looking at? I have a boyfriend." I sneered inwardly. Had she already forgotten last night's performance? She had no memory of how she'd tried to seduce me, begging me to spend the night with her. This woman was truly disgusting. Driven by revenge, I ordered Zhou Yue's services again that night. She was still blindfolded. When I saw her, I slapped her twice. I deliberately aroused her, making her beg for me, but I just watched her coldly. "Honey, please." Zhou Yue moaned. Looking at her beautiful face, I felt no desire at all. I ripped off her blindfold and smiled. "Zhou Yue, open your eyes and see who I am." Zhou Yue shuddered when she heard her name. Seeing me, her face instantly paled. "Ethan Thompson, what are you doing here?" She was filled with terror. She screamed, "What do you want? You poor loser, spending 1,000 yuan on a prostitute. And I thought you were some hard-working, decent student." Hilarious. She knew perfectly well I'd ordered an escort. "Jessica Davis, you know I called for an escort. And aren't you the very escort I ordered? Since you're out here selling yourself, do you really care where my money came from?" I looked down at her, pure, undisguised contempt in my eyes. Zhou Yue probably thought of me as just some loser, while seeing herself as some untouchable goddess. That's why she couldn't bear the thought of me, of all people, discovering she worked as an escort. Her expression twisted instantly. Ethan Thompson, what the hell are you trying to do? What do you think I want? I shot back. Zhou Yue completely misunderstood. Thinking I was still after her looks, her body, she actually dropped to her knees. She thought this was what I wanted. Isn't this what you're after? Zhou Yue hissed through clenched teeth. I'll take care of you tonight. Make sure you're satisfied. Just promise you won't tell anyone you saw me working here. If you do, You'll what? Call the cops. I scoffed. I haven't laid a hand on you. If anyone's getting arrested, it'll be you, not me. Zhou Yue, do you seriously think you have any right to negotiate with me? I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos I'd taken of her before in all sorts of poses. What the hell do you want? Obvious fear flashed in Zhou Yue's eyes. How could you take those pictures without me knowing? Ethan Thompson, she shrieked. I knew Zhou Yue. She was a gold digger, sure, but judging by how she'd maneuvered her way into dating Zhang Yang while putting on such an aloof, holier-than-thou act, I knew her reputation, her face, was everything to her. Now I had proof that Zhou, the great campus belle, was working as an escort on the side. Soon, the campus belle would become the campus laughingstock. And since we went to the same university, she naturally had reason to fear me. Seeing her panic, I couldn't help but smirk. Before my rebirth, I'd beg her just like this. But she'd blow me off, even call me nosy. That was the last straw for me back then. I gripped Zhou Yue's throat, a chill flashing in my eyes. I want you to stay by Zhang Yang's side. Get a job at his father's factory. You studied accounting, didn't you? It shouldn't be too hard for you to find evidence that his factory is embezzling government funds, right? The investigator I'd hired to look into Zhang Yang's father's factory had already reported back. He said that while the factory looked legitimate on the surface, the actual expenditures didn't line up at all with the government funding they'd received. As soon as I found out, I immediately told my parents to quit their jobs there. They didn't believe me at first, but after I transferred them $500,000, they changed their tune fast. Now, they're just waiting for me to finish renovating my place, so they can move in and enjoy a comfortable life. But I didn't have hard proof. No way to actually bring them down. And Zhou Yue. She was the perfect tool for the job. Zhou Yue's immediate reaction was to refuse. She spat furiously. Ethan Thompson, in your dreams, why the hell would I help you screw over my own boyfriend? I'm not helping you. Just give up, you worthless loser. Zhou Yue really despised poor students like me. Every insult she hurled at me was laced with venom. It just proved she was nothing but a pretty face, completely clueless. She still hadn't grasped the reality of the situation. She was the fish on the chopping block, and I held the knife. Fine, then forget it. I'll just send these scandalous videos of you to Zhang Yang. I continued, and then I'll post them on our school's confession wall. What do you think? Will the campus belle of the week become the laughingstock of the week? Ha ha! I twisted the knife. Everyone will know that our high and mighty campus belle is actually worse than a slut. My words hit Zhou Yue where it hurt. She immediately shrieked. No, you absolutely cannot send those photos out. Then you'll do exactly as I say. If I show these to Zhang Yang, do you think he'll spend another dime on you? I looked coldly at the exposed woman in front of me, unable to comprehend how my taste had been so poor before. Zhou Yue's face was livid. Her finger trembled as she pointed at me. Li Ming, I never knew you were so insidious. I almost felt like some heinous villain. Sure, I'm insidious. And you, our esteemed campus belle, are so pure, selling your body, clinging to sugar daddies. Nothing like me, an insidious villain, earning money through honest means. I didn't bother hiding the mockery in my eyes. Stung by my scornful gaze, Zhou Yue gritted her teeth. Li Ming, don't be so nasty. So, are you going to listen to me or not? After a moment of silence, during which she seemed to grind her teeth to dust, she finally spat out, fine. Glaring at me, she added, I agree, but after you're done, you have to delete my photos. Otherwise, I'd rather fight to the death than be at your beck and call for the rest of my life. Of course, once this is over, we're done. I have no interest in you. Why would I keep your photos? I don't know which part of my statement stung her so deeply. Perhaps the idea that I, Li Ming, had no interest in her, the campus belle, wounded her pride. After a moment of seething resentment, she suddenly flashed me a coquettish smile and tugged at my belt. Li Ming, don't you want me? Zhou Yue wanted to prove her allure as the campus belle. I pulled her into my arms, and, just as she anticipated my next move, I whispered in her ear, sorry, Zhou Yue, I don't like dirty women. If this were before my rebirth, Zhou Yue's advances would have thrilled me. But now, knowing her true colors, I couldn't bring myself to touch her. She disgusted me. If she had just been with that jerk Zhang Yang honestly, I might have even respected her a little. But the way she degraded herself for money was truly despicable. If she was doing this on the side, her part-time job at the milkshake shop was probably just a front, a way to meet Zhang Yang, get harassed by him, and then conveniently become his mistress. With that thought, I pushed Zhou Yue to the ground. Li Ming, Zhou Yue cried out indignantly as I pushed her to the ground. I didn't want to waste words, just told her to remember what I'd said. Sure enough, half a month later, Zhou Yue became an accountant at Zhang Yang's father's factory. Flaunting her status as the factory owner's son's girlfriend, she acted high and mighty. I knew getting evidence of embezzlement, bribery, and tax evasion wouldn't be easy. I'd also arranged for someone else to get a job in the finance department to work with Zhou Yue and keep an eye on her. Dealing with a snake in the grass is tricky, especially one like Zhou Yue, so I had to be extremely careful. Meanwhile, I've been busy finalizing the paperwork to take over a small furniture factory. I became its owner and deliberately started using the same timber supplier as Zhang Yang's family, offering higher prices. This forced them to pay more for less, as I was buying up most of the stock. Once I was in place, I went to see Zhou Yue. A couple of days earlier, she'd messaged saying she'd found some discrepancies in the accounts. This is last year's, and this is this year's. This year's expenses are $500,000 higher, but the accounts are the same. They've inflated the price of cheap redwood by $500,000. Zhou Yue showed me the pictures of the ledgers on her phone, frowning. So, they probably evaded $500,000 in taxes. Zhou Yue was taking this seriously. I glanced at the accounts. Something was definitely off. But this isn't enough to bring them down. Zhou Yue, if Zhang Yang and his father attend any gatherings, you must find a way to tag along and see if you can overhear anything. Nothing loosens tongues like a few drinks and some female company. I'd heard that because my factory was cornering the timber market, Zhang Yang's father was trying to get preferential treatment from Director Zhang. Director Zhang happened to be the brother-in-law of the owner of our city's largest timber supplier. Keep Director Zhang happy, slip him enough under the table, and he'd open doors. Zhang Yang's father knew this, which was why he'd resorted to bribery when I cut into his business. I'd initially considered finding evidence of his past bribery, but that's notoriously difficult. Then I realized it would be easier to create an opportunity for Zhang Yang and his father to bribe Director Zhang again. That way, Zhou Yue could get photos, videos, and recordings, solid evidence. I thought it was a good plan. Zhou Yue thought for a moment and nodded. Okay, I'll definitely find a chance to go with them. Zhang Yang trusts me quite a bit lately. But no sooner had she spoken than Zhang Yang appeared before us. He seemed to be having dinner with friends at the restaurant and was furious to see us together. You again? What are you doing with my girlfriend? He stormed towards me, fist raised, followed by his posse. I'd already lived through this scene once in my previous life, but facing it again, I couldn't help but tremble for a moment before quickly calming down. Once bitten, twice shy, as they say. I was at least decently wealthy now, so I'd hired 2 bodyguards. Whenever I went out, they watched me from nearby. As soon as Zhang Yang and his buddies dared to make a move, my bodyguards would show them there were no pushovers. Zhang, you've misunderstood, Jessica Davis said quickly. I just happened to bump into Zhou. We were in a large lecture class together before, so we just chatted for a bit when we saw each other. Luckily, we'd already paid for our coffee, and the waiter had cleared the table. Otherwise, I couldn't afford to blow my cover before I destroyed Zhang Yang's Family Thompson Furniture Co. Jessica Davis hastily chimed in beside him. That's right, honey, don't overthink it. With a boyfriend like you, how could I possibly be interested in anyone else? Hearing this, Quentin Wilson puffed up with pride. True, Jessica Davis, with an amazing boyfriend like me, how could you possibly fall for a broke loser like him? Quentin Wilson completely looked down on me. In his eyes, I was just an ant he could crush underfoot whenever he pleased. He just didn't know yet that this little ant would be the key element in destroying his pampered life as a rich heir. But Quentin Wilson wasn't done with me. He pointed right in my face and said, We're both men here. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. You're just eyeing my girlfriend, aren't you? Let me tell you, don't even think about it. He smacked my face twice, his expression full of menace. All right, I replied meekly. I knew how to pick my battles. I wouldn't get into a shouting match with Zhang Yang just to satisfy some fleeting pride. But Zhang Yang wasn't content with just threats. After smacking my face, he kicked my leg hard. That'll teach you to look at my girlfriend. Get him, guys. If anything happens, it's on me. Waves of pain shot through my leg. Sure enough, Zhang Yang wasn't letting me off. Seeing things were about to repeat themselves, just as Zhang Yang's buddy's fists and feet were about to land on me. I quickly called out my bodyguards. Jack Wilson, Henry Thompson, get out here. Jack Wilson and Henry Thompson were both ex-military, built like tanks with impressive muscles. Compared to them, Zhang Yang's gang were just pathetic weaklings drained by wine and women. The main reasons they beat me so badly before were that I was outnumbered and they fought dirty. Take them all down, I ordered. Zhang Yang hadn't expected me to have bodyguards and shouted furiously. One after another, Zhang Yang's buddies were taken down, while Jack Wilson and Henry Thompson remained completely unharmed. Watching his friends howling on the floor, Zhang Yang started to get scared. Ethan Thompson, who the hell are you? Aren't you just some broke loser? How can you have such formidable bodyguards? At this point, even the way Zhou Yue looked at me changed. Before, she'd looked at me with resentment because I had coerced her. Now it was different. She was actually looking at me with admiration. I sneered. None of your damn business. I copied Zhang Yang's earlier move and smacked his face. Just you wait. Zhang Yang held a grudge, and since I'd already offended him, I didn't care about pushing his buttons even harder. Once the dinner meeting between his father and Bureau Chief Zhang began, Zhang Yang would be trapped completely at my mercy. Zhou Yue successfully infiltrated the dinner party hosted by Zhang Yang's father, factory director Zhang. The director initially refused, but he couldn't resist Zhang Yang's persistent pleading. Zhang Yang must have been provoked by me, afraid Zhou Yue would think less of him compared to me. So, he relentlessly helped her get what she wanted. When Zhou Yue mentioned wanting to experience such a dinner party, he actually arranged for her to go. Sure enough, after the dinner concluded, factory director Zhang and bureau chief Zhang reached their agreement, and Zhou Yue captured all the evidence on camera. Meanwhile, Zhang Yang started getting arrogant. He thought that with bureau chief Zhang backing him now, I couldn't touch him. So, early the next morning, Zhang Yang cornered me at the dormitory entrance. What he didn't know was that I had obtained all the evidence the previous night and had already reported his family. Given their crimes, they were almost certainly facing jail time. At that moment, Zhang Yang was still unaware that his father had been summoned for questioning early that morning. He arrogantly blocked my path. Ethan Thompson, this time I brought a Taekwondo champion. Even with your bodyguard around, you won't be able to protect a loser like you. Indeed, several muscular men stood behind him. It seemed he wasn't bluffing. But so what? His family was about to be finished. Is that so? I sneered, then punched him squarely. Instead of wasting your time acting tough and blocking me here, you should go check on your family's Thompson Furniture Co. See if it's about to go bankrupt. See if you're headed for prison. Impossible. Zhang Yang listened in disbelief. My dad is factory director Zhang, and we have bureau chief Zhang behind us. We'll see if bureau chief Zhang ends up in prison right alongside you and your father. Zhang Yang, furious, looked ready to hit me, thinking I was spouting nonsense. Just then, one of his lackeys ran up, yelling that something had happened. What? Zhang Yang rushed off, a panicked look on his face. By evening, I learned that their furniture factory had been seized and shut down. The Wilson family was completely bankrupt. Zhang Yang and his father were imprisoned for bribery and economic fraud. I had finally gotten my revenge. A weight lifted off my chest. Just then, Jessica Davis approached me. Ethan Thompson, you can delete my photos now, right? I did what you asked. We have no more ties between us. Don't worry, I replied. I'm not the kind of person to go back on my word. You held up your end, so I'll delete the photos. As for ties, I don't want any connection with you either. At that moment, my assistant walked over. President Lee, President Zhou from Horizon Enterprises is here. He'd like to have dinner with you. All right, I'll be right there. Zhou Yue stared at me in astonishment. President Lee? That's right, I said. The new furniture factory that just opened? It's mine. Hearing this, deep regret filled Zhou Yue's eyes. She likely realized she had completely misjudged me back then. She grabbed my sleeve, about to say more, but I chuckled softly. Miss Zhou, please conduct yourself with dignity. You said it yourself. We have no more ties. I walked away under Zhou Yue's gaze. I moved my parents into a spacious apartment. I could finally give them a good life. My rebirth didn't follow the old path. I didn't save the campus beauty this time. I had started my own legend.